Slate.org by Technolutions. As a part of our commitment to supporting and promoting access to higher education, Slate.org is a free tool designed to connect school counselors and community-based organizations with colleges and universities across the globe. This video will cover how to set up invitations as well as visits. You can get started by navigating over to the Visits icon in the top toolbar. From here, you'll see a visits calendar, where you can do anything from scheduling school visits or things like college fairs, anything that you want to make available in a free public-facing calendar for colleges and universities to see and request registration. Speaking of calendars, there's also the ability to drop in any type of school calendar or calendar that you want by URL. For example, you might want to see things like upcoming test dates or AP tests, anything that's going on your school calendar that you want to overlay here on the Slate.org calendar. As you'll see, we have some prior visits that we've already scheduled that are in blue. We give you one calendar right here, such as US holidays. If you click on it, it'll drop it right here for you. You can even color code these additional calendars, because as you see once again here, these visits that you've scheduled in Slate.org are in blue on your calendar. But if you want to do something like maybe change the holidays to green or whatever your favorite color is here in the color palette chooser, you can do so and save. Anytime you add a calendar, you can toggle them on and off. That's why when I click this calendar on, you'll see there's Labor Day right here. So this is a very useful tool when you're thinking about what's the availability? What availability do we have for the month where we can schedule some visits? When you want to schedule visits, you just click on New Visit right here. You can give your visit a name, and you can keep it confirmed and active by default. If it's something you want to start working on but leave it as tentative, that would remove it from being on the public-facing calendar. Oftentimes, things like high school visits can be scheduled in batch because you know ahead of time that through this particular date range, maybe every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, we have these time slots available. But right now, we'll just go ahead and schedule a single visit for a very particular day in October. You'll see here I'm typing in a specific time, like 10 a.m. And you might be thinking, well, what about the time zone? Well, right below this, you'll see that it's defaulted to the Eastern time zone for my institution's location. If you ever need to, you can go ahead and adjust this time zone as well. When it comes to schools requesting registration, you might want to give your staff a little bit of time. And this is where you can set a deadline here. So maybe I want at least maybe a good week in advance for schools to be able to request registration. And this can always be modified later in the game if need be. You can also set a limit. So if maybe you only want 3 college reps at a given time to come and sign up, you can set that limit right here. You can also denote whether or not you want this event to be private. What the privacy setting does is only allows this event to be shared with invited institutions. A good example might be a college fair that you want to schedule. Maybe you want it to be invite only. If that's the case, then only schools that are invited will see the visit. The location tab here will show you the location of the visit or the event. This will default to your institution profile, so whatever the location of your institution is, but you can always modify it right here. The description tab is a good place to drop in any type of information that you might want to be public facing. So maybe things such as some additional direction information, where to park, where the event is located, parking paths, and so forth. A good spot for any public facing information. But there might be some use cases for internal notes. So things that you want your staff to remember. And that will go ahead and save right there to your event. So once again, this isn't information that is public, but just something, any type of internal notes that you want to have there. And it's as simple as go ahead and clicking save. Once you click save, it'll default right here to more of the visit and event management screen. This is where you will manage your registrants here to see who has requested registration and maybe who you want to invite as well. If I click here in the upper right-hand corner where it says Edit, this is where, once again, after I've created my event, I can continue to make any type of modifications to things like the deadline, registration limit, or even things like description and internal notes. Right now, you're probably wondering, how does a college university sign up for a visit that you've posted? One of the things to know is that Slate.org integrates directly with Slate by Technolutions. Slate is the only CRM purpose-built for higher education and is trusted by more than 1,000 colleges and universities. A college or university doesn't have to use Slate in order to see your visits. They too can sign up for a Slate.org account and register through a public-facing calendar. But if a college or university uses Slate, in their Slate database, they can come right over to the slate.org section of their events. They can look at open events, so here are some live ones right now from different high schools, and they can even look at invitations. So right now, Slate University doesn't have an invitation from a school yet. But if they come to open events, they can even search for Slate High. Here's that October event that we just created. If I go ahead and click on it here, I can see some information. When I look at the description tab, I see that public-facing information that was in there. I don't see the internal notes because, once again, that was for your staff. When I come back to the details tab, if you remember, in the profile section of slate.org, you could upload a school profile. If we see right here, I can click on that school profile and see what was uploaded. So that data kind of transfers back and forth. The cool thing too is, as a college or university that uses Slate, I can not only request registration, but I can associate it with a particular trip and a particular user on the college side, just for their organizational purposes as well. So at Slate University, I'll go ahead and request registration. That'll then pass back to slate.org. Once the college or university has requested registration for your open event, it'll show up right back in slate.org. So here we are back in our slate.org account as Slate High. On the home page here, this is where I can view everything from upcoming visits that are scheduled. I can also look at visits with unreviewed registrants. Any co-host invitations I may have, so if other schools have invited me to be a co-host, which we'll get to in a bit, as well as an activity feed, looking at any recent activities. You'll see this one right here with a little caret next to it, and that lets me know that since the last time I logged in, there's something brought up to my attention, kind of the most recent activity since I last logged in. And we can see here that this has to do with that 10/10 visit. That October 10th visit right here also shows up in visits with unreviewed registrants, because as you remember, we just had a college or university request registration. So if I come right here to this visit with unreviewed registrants, I see here there's that Slate University request to come here on October 10th at 10 a.m. If I click on Slate University, what I can do is have the opportunity to confirm the registration. I can even reschedule them to a different date if I feel like it. And I also have the opportunity, and maybe quite unfortunate, to decline the registration as well. Will be nice, and I'll go ahead and confirm registration. And what that's going to do is send that confirmation back to Slate University and let them know that it's confirmed on their end. So right now, this is really an example of more of those school visits that you can schedule. But there may be times where you have events such as college fairs. So if we go ahead and come over to the home page once again and look at some of our activities, we can come over to this Slate High College Fair right here. As you'll see, there's a few different things you might want to take advantage for an event like this. I might want to have a co-host invitation get sent out. A co-host is maybe a school that you want to co-host an event with. So maybe if I come here to this School of Rock, let's see who we've got, and send an invitation. What that's going to do is say, I would like this high school to also be a co-host of this event for me. You also have the ability to send out invitations. So we talked earlier about maybe making an event private. Some of your school visits might be public, but I might want things like college fairs to be invite only. And that's where this setting is checked off for privacy. If I come to the invited tab, I can see here I've already invited Moose Lake College to attend. But if I select new invitation right here, this allows me to look up other institutions. Instead of doing it one by one though, I might want to have invite list. As an example, I have an invite list called Fall College Fair, or I have 3 colleges that I can invite in batch. You can configure different invite lists right over here on the colleges icon. When I come to the colleges icon, I will see a whole list of schools right here. You'll also see not just a visits column, but an applications column. And we'll talk a little bit about the ability for data sharing to view applications, checklist items, and upload materials to students' checklists as well. Right here, it says all colleges, as well as the fall college fair list. And that go ahead and filters your list right here. When you come to manage lists, this is where you can edit existing lists, and you can also do new lists. So maybe I'll have one and call it college fair list number 2. By default, it's active, but you can always inactivate these lists. The sharing setting allows you to specify whether or not you want this to be a private list. So a list that only you see as the logged in user, or if you want to share it with other users that are a part of your institution at slate.org. Default just allows it to be the first list that's in the drop-down menu for you by default. So then when you come to colleges, it's kind of what you first see there. You can also specify an order, because as you can imagine, as there's more and more lists, you might want to order the way in which they appear in the drop-down. And we'll go ahead and save this right here. Now I can go ahead and add some colleges here. So if we think about maybe those Slate ones, I can go ahead and select both of them. And what that's going to do is already predefine the colleges that show when I select that list going forward. If I want to make modifications, I can click here and decide to remove records as well, quite simply. Now if I go back and look at that college fair again and go to the Invited tab, and I select New Invitation, I can come here and select the college fair list number 2. So once again, this allows me to invite them in batch. As I can see here, I've already invited Slate College, so I can still modify what happens in this scenario. So as you can see here, when it's both selected, it says 2 in the invite section. When I just select 1, it already populates to 1 to let me know how many invitations we'll send off. You're probably thinking, what does this look like on the college and university side? So as you can see, Slate College was already invited. So how do they know that they're invited? Once again, if a college or university is not using Slate, they're going to have access in slate.org to a home tab that will allow them to see those invitations here. But if a college or university is using Slate, they'd be able to accept that invitation in their Slate database. And here's an example of what that looks like in a Slate database. So you can see here, here's Slate College, and they'll see those open events like we talked about before for looking for open events here, but then here's that invitation only section. And that's where we'll see that college fair that Slate College can click on that they've been invited to. Once again, they can view your school profile if you've posted it, any type of descriptions that we have right here. And they can go ahead and accept or decline the invitation. We'll go ahead and accept that as Slate College. And now that the college has accepted that invitation, here on our home screen in slate.org, we see a new activity. So we'll see here that Slate College is now registered for that college fair. And we can even click on that activity right there. So they went from invited to registered, and it automatically changes the status right for you. Thank you for tuning in to this training lesson. Do note that if you go to the help icon, we have more documentation resources as well as training videos in slate.org TV.